A side rant, before we get into today's video. I feel like as soon as people hear an AI voiceover they immediately give up watching because they think, oh, this whole video was AI. But it takes a lot of time and work to put together these videos, topics, research, music, graphics, text, etc. And I use a voiceover both to save on time and because I don't have a good recording microphone. So, if you're watching, just give my channel a chance. Now on to today's video. Most of us grow up believing there will be this moment of clarity when all of the hard work accumulates into a role, or a title, or a sense of certainty. Like it does in the movies. What if there's no big arrival? We're told that if we work hard, stay honest, follow our values, eventually everything will click into place. But what happens when it doesn't? And the fear of being quietly disappointed or disillusioned is a fear, maybe an underlying fear, that many people carry. Of looking back and realizing your life never formed into something easily explained. Of being asked, so what do you do? That's become a question I try to avoid being asked, and not having an answer that fits into one sentence. I think this starts as an inheritance because we all inherit a story. I say story, but that could just be ideas such as the idea that integrity leads to security. That meaningful work leads to recognition. That sincerity eventually gets rewarded. But research in psychology tells a different story. According to terror management theory, one of our motivations as human beings is to create meaning and symbolic achievement to buffer against existential fear. In simpler terms, we chase visible success because it makes life feel solid. But modern culture often rewards visibility over depth, status over sincerity, self-promotion over quiet contribution. And when your personality leans toward listening instead of declaring, you can end up feeling like you got the short end of the stick. And the idea of arriving at the pinnacle, that aha moment that protagonists and heroes have, is seductive. We all crave that. But to borrow from Buddhist philosophy, there's this concept of non-attachment which suggests that clinging to identity or outcomes creates friction. That negativity and disappointment oftentimes comes not from experience itself, but from grasping at how we think it should unfold. This has happened to me before. Something didn't go the way I expected it to, so I either didn't enjoy it as much or became disappointed and disgruntled. The more tightly we grip that imagined destination, the more painful the present moment becomes because you aren't already at that imagined destination. It's a bit like going around in circles. And time can be a big factor in this perspective because the younger you are, the more temporary disappointment feels. There's still time to pivot, reinvent, to arrive later. But aging changes the tone. You start noticing not just what you did, but what you never became. And that realization can feel heavy. Partially because culturally, we don't have ceremonies to celebrate quiet living, staying kind, staying present, and staying honest. There's a particular loneliness in feeling like you don't fully belong to the dominant culture around you. Like you've been mismatched. When it comes to our relationships, remember that love and value is measured in presence, not a resume. Developmental psychology consistently shows that consistent emotional availability, not achievement, predicts long-term relational security in children. Presence imprints deeper than prestige when it comes to our relationships. And maybe the problem isn't that you didn't arrive, but that arrival was never the point. And what if staying true to your values, staying constant with loved ones, and staying true to yourself is a form of success we don't talk about enough? Research in positive psychology, particularly by Martin Seligman, distinguishes between pleasure, engagement, and meaning. Meaning often comes from commitment to something beyond yourself. And the truth is that commitment rarely looks glamorous. So letting go of the happily ever after, fantasy ending isn't some once and done breakthrough. It's knowing that integrity was never a transaction, and that choices don't lose value just because they aren't rewarded. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe.